Welcome, everybody, to Clinical Hypnosis Australia. And today I'm talking to Nagita from You and I Belong. So, Nagita, what do you do?
What do I do? Great question. I work with kids, teen adults,
Fantastic.
young adults,
Yeah.
families, parents, and actually wanting to work with teachers as well, which is something I'm currently working on.
Hmm.
But yeah, so I basically work with young people
Hmm.
because there's such a need for it,
So,
and
what
you
with their
know.
stress, anxiety, depression, what, anything in particular?
Yeah, I mean, with mental health and, all the other kind of daily challenges that we have, I really had a desire to kind of work with young kids. I have young kids myself.
Hmm.
So, I could see a lot of the challenges that were there. So I really felt that there was a need to work with them. And plus, I love working with kids.
They are fantastic, aren't they?
They are fantastic, and there's so much to learn from them.
Oh, absolutely. They are so honest, and there's no mucking around. And there's that genuine sense of curiosity when they're asking for something that
Oh, yeah.
I think a lot of parents forget that they were like that at one stage too, and they became hushed. But they're
Yes.
not being offensive, they're genuinely curious.
Oh, yeah. And we've forgotten how to be curious. And, like it's something that I myself started reflecting on recently, about, being curious. And I think I've always been a curious person. I like to ask a lot of questions, a lot of whys and things like that.
Mhm.
But, growing up, a lot of the time we're taught, not to ask the questions and just to be agreeable to whatever we're told,
Mhm.
and unfortunately, then that kind of shuts down a lot of our curiosity as we get older and we ask less and less questions. We
Mhm.
just kind of conform and do whatever it is that we're told to do. And, we don't explore and, our
Mhm.
imagination gets shut down. And, there's so many things that happen.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, that's why I feel this kind of work is really important because, it's kind of not only for the kids, because kids actually have a great imagination. We're the ones who tell them to not to have one. So having
Sad.
support for the parents more so. And reminding parents, that, this just remember what it was like when you were a kid.
Mm. Do you have the parents and the children working collectively for an outcome?
So the way that I've got it structured is, we do individual work.
Mhm.
But because, you're working with a support structure, so definitely there has to be collaborative work.
Mm.
When you're working with younger children, you do need a lot more parent involvement. But with even the older kids, having parents who are on the same page about what's actually happening and what support, the kids need is really important. Because at the end of the day, once we do our work, they're left,
Mm.
to their own devices and they still need the support structure there to continue that work.
Mm.
So
Well,
having parent involvement is really important.
well, you must admit it's not like you're a mum. And you must admit, it's not like you got this child with an instruction manual, and then on those days you were like, no, I don't want to do that today. Like you were either all in or not. And we need parental education. Do you think that there's a bit of a block when it comes to parents not wanting to be educated, as if they think it's some kind of, I've got this, it's all natural, everybody else is an idiot or wrong?
Well, I think it comes down to, and again, it's not about criticism because at the
Hmm.
end of the day, we do the best with what we know.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
you know so we will do the best of whatever it is that we've been taught, whatever has been modeled,
Mhm.
whatever we've been surrounded by in our own environments. I mean, let's not forget we were also children, so there are things that we've learnt, patterns of behavior that we've adopted, and we only do it from our perspective, right?
Mhm.
Um, it's not till awareness comes in, and awareness doesn't come in until you see something different,
Correct. Very true. What
you
about the
know.
digital era coming in with children? Because, like in my era, there wasn't anything such a mobile phone.
Yeah.
And now we've got to understand, how is this child so connected? when we didn't have that kind of experience. How do you
Yeah.
navigate that field?
I mean, this is a big issue at the moment, isn't it? This is
Mm.
like one of the most talked
Especially
about
online
things.
bullying.
And the thing is, it's not just impacting kids. Adults are also succumb to the new technology and how things work.
Hmm.
And I think, unknowingly, we've kind of succumbed to new behavior patterns.
Yes, good point. Yep.
So, if we've succumbed to new behavior patterns, what are we modeling to the kids?
True, true. Because when I was a child, we didn't have a TV in the bedroom. You didn't have your phone or tablet. There's no such thing.
No.
You went to bed, you would usually read a book or go to sleep.
Yeah.
They were the options.
Yes.
So that's a different territory to navigate.
And the way we parented before is so different.
True. Yes, yes.
Like if we look at, modern society now, like we used to live in communities, there were a lot of joint
A lot of
families,
volunteering.
like what's the saying? They say it takes uh what is it? A tribe or a herd to bring up a child.
Mm.
You
Yeah,
know,
they've all got
but
to learn from different people. Yeah.
and but that was a natural way of doing it because it was available. That's how we
Mm.
lived. But what's happened now, like we're so, separated and disconnected, and,
Mm.
a lot of parents are doing things in silo, and trying to fill all those roles.
And then we've also got the cultural differences, food differences.
Yeah.
Uh, one thing that does interest me is the hero differences. So, for example, when I was a child, there was a guy up the road that could play guitar. And I remember my dad going, "This guy plays a guitar. I want to learn guitar." And you were like, "Wow, this guy plays guitar." It was like a real special skill.
Mm.
Where now you just jump on TikTok and it's like, oh, everybody's playing a guitar. So it kind of takes away that hero being special, having a talent scenario.
It's the scale,
Yeah.
it's the scale, like we don't factor like how much information we have available at our fingertips now.
Yeah, I didn't have that as a kid.
We didn't have mobile phones and
Mm,
internet, like for a bit. Then we got
yeah.
it at some point.
We had to
But
go to the
like,
library and go through
I
cards.
mean,
Like,
kids will not know what dial-up internet was like.
oh gosh, do you remember that noise?
Yeah. Yeah.
You'd have
And
a
trying to be
semi-am
quiet,
music.
so your parents didn't know you were logging in on the
Yeah,
internet.
because you were taking up the phone line and there might be an emergency of some sort.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Like the caveman days, like the kids
Oh
nowadays have no
gosh.
idea about that. But nor is it their fault. I mean, like, technology and things have just evolved that much.
Mhm.
We've had the privilege of seeing it,
Hmm.
the
What about
different.
what about information overload for children because they're they're so connected and oh, I've got to do this, I've got to do this. Oh, look at that. Oh,
Yep.
this surely a big thing for not only children but parents, yes?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the sensory overload is probably what we call it, right?
Mm.
There's more and more things that are happening that are just sensory overload for people. And
No
it's
wonder they
not
get
just
overwhelmed.
children, like even with adults. So, being able to regulate yourself, regulating your emotions, how you feel. I mean, we're not even talking about emotions anymore.
Not even
It's
talking
such a
about
big thing.
disconnecting and reconnecting with self. Like, what about boredom? Boredom
What do you do
is
when you're bored?
Yes, yes, it releases so much creativity. When I was a child, my mum would lock us outside on the farm, and she'd be like, "No, go outside, spend 2 hours out there, and just use your brain."
Yes.
And that's what we did.
But that's what you call imagination as well,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
But
yep.
this is what I was saying, like, as children, you imagine, you lose it
Mm,
as you get older. And a
mm,
lot of the time it's because of all these things that happen, you're taught not to. You're given the conveniences of things,
mm.
right? But we're used to that now.
And with that, just based on your experience with not using that imagination, do you
Mm.
find it leads to people that are less resourceful or less creative in their adult life?
I mean, what is imagination, right? The ability to explore and the ability to see new, like outside the box
Experiment.
thinking,
Yeah.
right? It's being able to train your mind to think beyond what you can see.
Mm, hmm
So yeah, foundationally, that's where it would come from,
mm,
to that the ability to be able to problem solve and as you said, be resourceful. If you can't think beyond what you can see,
mm.
then it is a bit challenging to be resourceful,
Yeah, exactly. And
problem solve.
that would make complete sense, like even as an adult and just only having the problem in front of you, where if you'd
Mhm.
used your imagination a lot more and trust it, you could go, well, what if we just went one step this way or one step that way
Yeah.
or just straight through the middle, create those resources.
Yep.
Yeah, good point. Good point.
Yeah. And I think it's you know, there's a few things that happen with that nowadays, right?
Mhm.
We're also talking about resilience,
Mm,
the resilience to overcome challenges.
mm. Good
You
point. Yes.
know, sometimes it just becomes too hard. Problem solving, being resourceful, even those things
With
that we
all this
talk about.
information coming in.
Eh, yeah, and so being able to regulate, it's the sensory overload of it, going into overwhelm. It's endless.
I think that's one good thing that did come out of COVID was realizing how tired we really were. And doing more does not mean being more.
Yes.
Doing nothing is still doing something.
And it gave us the opportunity to reconnect,
Yeah. Yeah. To get to know people again, to pause and be in that moment.
you know. Um, on the flip side though, what I and I mean, we're kind of seeing this worldwide, right? Like especially with mental health on the rise,
Mhm.
is that because of technology, you know, a lot of people haven't learned the traditional way of connecting with people.
Yes, they don't even know how to communicate basic words.
Everything's abbreviated, everything's like convenience. We don't understand the emotion, like when you're digital, right?
Hmm
Like
hmm
and it's a very convenient and almost express way of connecting with people when you're doing it digitally.
Mm.
Um, whereas, when you're from a different generation and you've experienced kind of both sides, we have kind of an upper hand in a way because we understand the difference.
Yes.
And not saying that we don't succumb to these things. I mean, mental health is also on the rise for older people too,
Oh, yes, yes.
you know. So we can also forget what connection was like.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Keep working with children. I love that you're doing that. We need more people working with kids and young people. I just cannot express it enough. Like, thank you so much for doing what you do. So, if you could give a young person one piece of advice, what would you
Mm.
give them?
Oh, young person, one piece of advice. Oh, I think it comes back to curiosity. Be
Mm,
curious, ask questions, and
yeah,
forever learn. Because
exactly.
learning never ends. Learning is not about what you learn at school.
Exactly. And
There
when
is
you
so many things to learn.
and when you be curious and if you get that person that seems to come across as a bit judgmental, remember that's them, not you.
Oh yeah. Like and don't let those things stop you from being curious and
Mm,
asking questions,
mm, yeah, absolutely.
because how else do you explore and how else do you learn
I know, right? And
if you don't ask?
can't have 100% knowledge of 100% things. Like even the
Never.
dictionary doesn't have that.
No. And you'll be surprised. I mean, like from personal experience, as I grew up, one of the things that I recognized about myself is I learned so much about people just from conversation. And,
Yes.
like I have not experienced everything in my life. I have not. It's not
Mm,
possible.
mm,
But I've developed a sense of empathy just because I've talked to people,
yes.
and learned through their own experiences and things that I could never have imagined,
Mhm.
you
So
know?
let's have some fun with your imagination now.
Okay.
You're on a pirate ship and you are the captain. What is the name of your pirate ship?
Oh, a pirate ship.
Mm.
Wow. Okay. My brain's just gone somewhere. If it's a pirate ship,
What's
oh,
the
now
name of your pirate ship? Be
I'm
curious,
thinking
perhaps.
pirate ship and treasure and, you know, there's something there. The word explorer comes in
That's good. The Pirate Explorer.
because it's all about, adventure and exploring and something like that.
What if you were the captain of the Curiosity Explorer?
There you go. I mean, that
Mm,
just fits, doesn't it?
I like that idea. Welcome,
Yeah.
Captain. So
I was
thank,
just, I went into trying to imagine myself as a pirate for a minute.
why not? It's your ship. So thank you, Nagita, for joining us here today. Please reach out. The link to her website is in the description, and she will be more than happy to connect, talk to you, and help you out with any information that you require. So thanks everybody for joining in, and we will catch you all in the future. Bye bye.
Thank you.